Okay, here we are, August 20th, 2026. Oh my goodness, 8/20/2026. It's got to mean something powerful. Just want to put that out there. And I know what it means. Hey, we can make it mean whatever we want to have it mean. I know it's powerful because guess what? We're together. We are together in this moment in time, less than 1 hour together. What a privilege it is. And we're demonstrating how AI cannot replicate this, ladies, right? AI cannot replicate this communication, this connection, this opportunity to enjoy a cup of tea or a big cup of whatever it is that you're drinking, to be together, share some ideas, have an insight, perhaps even have a transformation, and then be able to go out into the world and use ourselves for a greater purpose, a higher calling. I'm so thrilled that we get to do this. What a privilege it is. I'm Kathleen Caldwell, founder of C-Suite Networks, Women's Coaching and Consulting Council. Hey, I am all about women coaches, consultants, transformation, love, connection, making a difference, living a life of purpose. And so I am so grateful to be here and to be here with you. So the big idea, I'd love to share this with you. The big idea for our short time together is you're seeing, I'm sure, a sea of sameness out there, right? Give me a little sparkle. A lot of things are looking the same. A lot of things are sounding the same. And even it makes me so sad. But still, even the high glossy, beautiful things that are being created by AI are starting to kind of look alike. And it's interesting, I think, to notice how our brain checks out or checks in. So just notice that and I want to get your point of view on this, but the premise for today is that the more your authentic presence, your original contribution, and your visible integrity, and we're going to talk about what that means, it really truly becomes your competitive advantage. So that's the premise today. And I think the good news is the more you are who you are, and the more I am who I am, the better life will be, the better AI can actually be for us as a tool. So I'd like to welcome you. I want to get the conversation going. And for you, all of you wonder folks watching the replay, I'd love to have us take a moment because we're setting the context here. When you think of someone in your life, maybe currently right now or in your history, think of someone that you trust professionally, someone who has built their reputation, who has earned the right for your trust, okay? What is it that they do consistently that causes you to trust them? Now, I'm talking about a behavior, not generally a personality trait, okay? A behavior. So stopping and thinking, and I'd love to want to get your point of view and your voice in here. What is it that they do consistently that has you trust them? Deb Creer, please jump in.
I will jump. I will jump. To me, it's they show that they care.
Yeah, yeah. And would you tell us a little bit more about that?
And I think that is where AI falls short, right? Because it even when we're chatting with our own versions, it says, "Oh, you're wonderful, you're fabulous," but you know that it's still just the computer, right? When you or Susan or Dr. Lee or Carol, or anybody else say, "How are you doing today?" They mean that. And I think that's the thing is we still want that human touch.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. And weren't we demonstrating that a little bit before we started the recording about, hey, how are you? What's going on? Tell us about your week. How's your day? And we're leaning in to really empathize with each of us and because we care, right? Yeah. Yeah, really wishing Lee Smith a happy birthday, right? Yes, ChatGPT or any AI could say, happy birthday. Great, you're wonderful. This is another breakthrough. It's like, okay, great. And we're all like here giving you the juice, Lee. Jump in, Lee. I know you had something to say here about this.
Yes, yes. Well, I know it's going to sound silly because it's just being in the room, but the reason why I love showing up with you, Kathleen, on these Thursday mornings, and it makes my heart sad when I have to miss because I've got something else going on, is that you are consistent. You do show up and you put in the thought and the research to deliver the value. And so not only your wonderful personality, it's like behaviorally, yes, you are consistently doing research, the thought, in the creativity that you put into your slides to give us, symbolic visual representation, because I'm a visual learner, so it works really well with me. But that you do that, it just makes me lean in every more. I'm like, oh, what's the topic going to be this week? And then I'm like, I'm really going to miss that one because either I'm traveling or something else. So thank goodness for replays. But that's why I lean in and trust you. And I don't trust just anybody or everybody. And I really lean into that because of the value that you bring. And so that's the respect that I have for every woman in the room here, is because there's value that they bring. And I would rather look at a human face with a human pulse than to read whatever chat's going to spit back at me.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Lee. That is fabulous. Even your response is so human, right? It is so you. So thank you. Yeah. How about someone else? What is it that really has you trust a person, the behavior, the things that they're doing? Because we can also ask ourselves this at the same time as, hey, what am I doing to build trust with my community? What are the behaviors that I have? Yes, our personality, but the behaviors, the actions. Lee, you were jumping in. Dr. Lee. Yeah.
So I think it's authenticity that, you know, just looking somebody in the face and
Mm,
seeing them smile and feeling, even on Zoom, I can feel a connection because it's authentic. And not every Zoom connection is authentic, but those that you know and those that you have a common alignment around and you share values with, that is authentic. And if I feel like you're a fake, I don't trust you. I don't. And it's more than maybe you're not a fake, but if I feel like that you don't know how, you don't have the same values that I do, then I don't trust you. And that ties back into what Lee was said before me, the values. Is it Lee or lie? It's Lee. It's
thank
okay.
you. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Lee. Yes. And even pausing to ask how to pronounce a person's name, right? Genuinely. Yes.
Yeah.
So I would love, as a cue, maybe we could lean into the screen for a moment, just leaning into the screen, and perhaps look around the room, the Zoom room, and look at the beautiful faces of everyone here. Yeah. Getting this great energy. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. Very nice. Thanks for the cue and the reminder, Dr. Lee. That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Great. So, more of this, bringing our heart, our soul, our mind, all of who we are to the work we're doing is the key. And then how I'm going to share some strategies. I've been really studying this because it's a hot, important topic now. Hello, not only for us, but then how do we convey this to our communities, right? Community, people, bringing people together in unique ways to share important ideas, and also the power of transformation. The power of transformation, because as you ladies know, and as we all know, there's so much stuff out there, right? Do we need another thing, right? We've got a sea of sameness, right? You can see everything is the same. This is not new, this has been written about, is, kind of get in line with what is the current thought. And it's interesting because I kind of see on social is SEE, that an idea happens and then everybody's kind of jumping on board. You getting this as well? It's like a lot of followers, but few people with a unique point of view. And that's why, I'm so big on doing your own original research, because your own original research, no one else can take that from you. It's a springboard to powerful, having powerful conversations, being cited, being noteworthy, being a distinctive person with the category of one. So setting the context here, and I think also we're going through a real shift, and it is that, as you can see on the screen, is more information is not translating to trust. When AI, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, kind of was on the scene early in the days, maybe even 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we were content machines, right? We're the faster to market. And what I'm also seeing, and I'm sure you are too, is a lot of things are sounding the same. Well, hello, we're putting our ideas into ChatGPT and others, and of course, not with C-suite coaching. Big shout out to C-suite coaching because it's a closed system. But it Claude and ChatGPT are sharing a lot of these same ideas. And so for how many of you, I'm wondering, you're putting things in, and we'll talk about the logistics of this in a moment of how to break through that, but you're getting ideas that then you're kind of noticing your ideas are like you had ideas and things. And it's like your AI assistant is saying, good idea, great, this is going to fit into your framework so well. What a wonderful thing, and on and on and on. But then you're going out on social and you're seeing other evidence of ideas that are kind of the same, right? You're seeing this. And what I'm noticing is that trust is becoming scarcer. And when things are more scarce, there's more demand than supply, your value and our value goes up. Okay, so something to think about, that maybe more is not so great, just an idea. Okay, and so what I'm noticing, and I've done a lot of research on this, is that there are four things, and I want to get your point of view and your feedback on this. The four things that make you and your work recognizable and distinctive. Okay, it's obviously original research, of course, right? And being cited and being referenced and having people comment and be able to reference you. Of course, that's like fantastic. The table stakes, right? But also, as we're talking about in our time together and we're demonstrating, is your presence. How are people experiencing you, right? Are people experiencing you as relatable, comfortable, knowledgeable, credible, all these things? Are there things about you like with specificity? Only the details and the things that you would notice. We did a fabulous, fabulous, really great exercise last Friday on C Suite Celebrates in our breakout room. We were talking about how to be the category of one and really live in your zone of genius. We talked about it on Saturday, the Women's Saturday Circle. It was palpable. It was so awesome. The lusciousness of the things that people got about each other by only sharing just a few sentences. It was amazing. We human beings, we get it, this reticulating activating system. I've been talking about your RAS for years. It's an NLP term, So it's common knowledge, but then how are you using your RAS for you, right? So specificity, your lived experience, right? How is it that you're bringing your lived experience into the work you're doing, right? Not with, you know, overwhelming, droning on and on and on and on, but short stories, short examples, things that bring out your, as Susan Younger calls it, your humanitarianism, right? Humanitarianism. And of course, your voice. No one can replicate your voice, right? Your true voice. I'm not talking about, AI voice. I'm talking about your spirit and your life force energy, right? The thing that people can recognize about you. So, what are of these things, your presence, your specificity, your lived experience, what do you feel like, hey, I'd like to work on that a little bit. I do these other really well, but I'd like to work on in my in-person and my online presence. Where's the gap for you in any of these areas? Feel free, jump in. Is it your presence? You want to have more people experience you? Maybe doing some LinkedIn Lives, maybe doing events like this, maybe doing FaceTime, all kinds of things. Bringing more of your life, being specific, bringing more of yourself, the details that only you have in your life, your lived experience, and your particular point of view. Feel free, jump in. What are you thinking? Where's the gap? And What are you
I know
thinking?
for I know for me, it's I'm so busy doing what I'm doing that I'm not necessarily creating the events, creating the live exposure to me on a grander scale. I'm frequently in support of both my clients and groups I'm associated with. So people know I'm out there and I'm commenting, but I'm not doing my own posts. I'm not hosting my own events. So.
Yeah, got that. Got that. And at the same time, aren't we? I'd like to also, I want to just push back a little nudgy here, Susan, just a little bit. Aren't we also, when we're in support of others, doesn't our hostessness come through? Doesn't our life
Yeah.
force energy, our graciousness, and that's with you, Susan, is you in any environment that you're in, my interpretation, and feel free, jump in, ladies. My interpretation, it is your event. You are
Thank you.
the through line here with all of this, the dependable, the reliable, the consistent. Keep showing up. That's to me how you're demonstrating your who you are.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And there's something to having our own spaces and places, right? Our own
Mhm.
community,
Yeah.
because that's something that, hey, you will always have. So maybe a takeaway, aha, already is, okay, I'd like to work on one of these things. And what can I do from today, August 20th, to maybe start think about cultivating my own community in a new way, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, good. Any other comments about any of this? What's emerging? Lee, you're leaning in
Yeah.
there.
I ditto very much, Susan. It's like, yes, I'm in the things, and where I'm lacking is that consistency on social media to continue to expand my audience through sharing those the meaningful lived experiences. Is like, okay, inside my community, but I see my community as a container, and I'm like, okay, the container is one thing where I show up and serve, absolutely, but I need to be continuously putting myself out there in the world through that content, and I have so many thoughts that run through my mind. It's like really getting it down and putting those posts up.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. Thank you. And many of you're creating community through your newsletters, through your podcasts. My gosh, Deb, I mean, you are on what number episode now on
So
your
I
podcast?
just uploaded 1,199.
On 199, right?
Tomorrow I record 1,200. So
Is that incredible? Is that incredible? The goodwill, the highlighting others, the platform you have. I mean, extraordinary. And I'm always so curious. Okay, how can we bring those alumni back? How can we expand that goodwill? And I'm also curious for how many of you're a really good giver and not so great at the receiving. You're a great hostess. You're a great hostess. But are you, when people give you gifts of things, or you think about how to receive? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm not such a great receiver. I am working on it. And so, yeah. And what I find with this as a transformational moment is how can I titrate that? How can I take little tiny bits of receiving and start to feel that that's okay. It's safe to receive, right? It's safe to ask. Yeah, part of AI. Good. Any other things coming up for you? This is as delicious as we want this to be. And yeah, very, very good. So, and again, there's nothing wrong here. These are just, ladies, we are operating at such a masterful level, right? Let's just say, hey, operating at mastery. All of you have got so much life experience. And so I'm just suggesting let's bring more of that life experience into the work you're doing. And I also want to pause for just a moment because for how many of you were brought up with the thought about, hey, don't show too much. Sheila, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Don't be a boastful. Don't be too loud. Children are meant to be seen and not heard. Don't be too much. Anybody relate to that? Because those are all the messages that I got. Yes, exactly. That Midwestern nice kind of thing. And so the idea of being on camera, being out there, having a point of view, being more of who you are can be a little scary, right? Can be a little scary. So it's easier just not to do it, right? So just a takeaway from today, hey, like, is that creeping up for you in all of this? Because if we don't continue to press it a little bit, press those old beliefs, AI is just going to roll over the world, right? It's just going to roll over and it's going to be a series of machines, people, machine and machine talking to people. We're talking to machines instead of this stuff right here, right? Yeah, being more of who you are. Absolutely critical. Yes. And so just a little thought on that. Okay. So think about, hey, having more presence online in life, the specific things in your life that you feel comfortable sharing, right? I'm going to share a couple things. And I think the art and the science is, of course, sharing, but not oversharing, right? Oh my goodness, not oversharing. But sharing as appropriate, getting the tone and the context for who you're with, what serves them, and of course, what serves me, right? And bring more of that lived experience in your point of view, your voice. Okay, so now pivoting to what we're seeing online and then how we can be different. That's what our council is all about, is how can we notice what's happening in the world and how can we find our lane that is uniquely ours so we can prosper, we can have more of what we want in our life, we can make a bigger impact, we can have a greater voice, and we can live a life well lived with risk, right? Doing the work that we're called here to do. Because ladies, you are called now. You are called, each of you are called to do the work you're supposed to do. I can't do Sheila's work. I can't do Susan's work. I can't do Lee's, Deb's, Carol's, or Lee's, Dr. Lee's. I can't, I'm not here to do your work. You're here to do your work. I'm here to do my work. And so what I'm noticing is, and tell me what you think, is online, especially, it's we have this filtering system now in our brains. It's really fantastic how within milliseconds we can read something or hear something or see something, and we can tell. Now, AI is getting really, really good at a lot of these things, but I'm just saying we notice when it sounds like someone, a real human being. And a human being is putting something at risk. That's a point of view. It creates the meaningful detail, the context. And also with our AI presence and with our social presence is it, what is it doing to create relationships for you and for us? Okay. Is it out there to have like, here's my point of view and put me on the intention is put me on a pedestal and I'm this great thinker and all this kind of thing. Okay. All right. That's one model. Okay. But how can you be more imperfectly perfect, right? And being more, I love this at the very bottom, is being personally present. So thank you for being here, because that's what we're doing. We're being personally present. We're investing our valuable, invaluable time to engage in this conversation. So when things come up for you, feel free, jump in. I want to get your voice in here because we're going to get to some tactical things in a moment. But I think, and I'm working through this myself, is first of all, and we're going to be creating this in our council for each of us. We're going to have a special council event where we're going to be working on what is your particular specific AI mission and your value system. What is your AI statement about how you use AI in the world? What is it that what's your stated position and your voice on this, so people can know they can trust you. So few people, I would say literally like less than 1% of coaches and consultants out there have a stated position on AI. Okay. And if we don't have a stated position, then people are left thinking, all right, this is either all AI or it's a little bit of AI. Like, how are you using AI? Okay. And I think that AI can help us with organizing, questioning, comparing, drafting, and editing. I think that's fantastic. But I think, and I want to get your point of view here on this, is that we've got to take the time to really think. I've been doing that for the past week, is really taking some time out in my garden, out on my porch during the beautiful summer, the end of the summer, to stop and think, what do I want for my business? What do I want for the council? What do I want for my life? What is it that I want? And what, using my discernment, what's really important now? What's the win? What's important now? And verifying, using our powerful minds to say, I don't know that I trust that data that I'm getting from AI. And of course, contributing to the global conversation about things that are important. And also, finally, standing behind what we're putting out there in social. Okay. So think about this. This is a way that we can become an accountable and responsible author of the content that we're creating. Okay. Yeah. So I'd love to share with you just a little example of this. And I think that this will kind of bring it home a little bit for us that um, sharing ourselves and sharing our life is risky. Okay. It's risky. I shared a couple of years ago about sandpaper. Anybody share about sandpaper in a while? Okay. I was right in the middle of working on my deck. Kathleen, you should outsource that. I know I should, but it's a
I was
source
going
of
to say,
joy.
not something we've done lately.
Right, exactly. Right, exactly. Okay, good. It's a source of joy. Okay, honestly, it is. It is. And I'll bring in some pictures of my deck now. Oh, my deck. London brown is the name, is the color. It's just gorgeous, beautiful. Okay, so I was sharing in an event where I was talking about the importance of sandpaper and how having the rough edges around my deck and the ability to smooth things out a little bit. And then it brought up for me while I had hours to think on the deck while I'm painting and sanding and all this, where are the areas of our life where we need to smooth out some rough edges, right? So it then created a catalyst for, okay, I want to talk about this during an event. Okay. Well, lo and behold, completed the event. It was juicy. It was awesome. It was fantastic. Lo and behold, I get a pop up within 30 minutes of the event. And I got a pop up that a new article was written about 90 grit sandpaper. And I'm thinking, what? What? Okay. Went and checked it out. And it was clear that there was an AI recording going in the background by one of the attendees. And they recorded the call and recorded everything and then used, their AI assistant to say, copy this transcript, put it in my voice, and let's publish an article. So anybody have anybody had this happen to you? Okay. Sam, I'm so delighted to be a forerunner of things that we get to. Yes, exactly. So I read the article and literally, they took out the deck, but they just were talking about, hey, when you use like 90 grit sandpaper, it's fine, but it's got a little, just all of the little metaphors and stories in our shared conversation, right? It was not only my conversation, but it's all a shared conversation. And literally, it was a rendition of the call with very little of them in the content. Okay. So I had to take a deep breath. I'm just being completely authentic here. I had to take a deep breath. And I thought, wow, okay, there was a breach of trust there. Okay. And I know I've got to shore up the conversation here. I've got to say, please, no AI recorders during our calls. This is a sacred circle we're creating, right? It's sacred. Your voice, we don't want to have your point of view and your thought leadership copied and taken and used for somebody else's content. So I paused and I thought, okay, Kathleen, this is a leadership moment. This is a leadership moment. How can I have a difficult, crucial conversation with someone? Now, I didn't come up with the term crucial conversation, right? I've got the book on it, but we know what crucial conversations are, right? And I stopped, paused, and I said, I must have this conversation because this is a direct lift. This is a hijack. In the Midwest in Chicago, we call it a loo jack. It's like you take it and yeah. And so I let it rest for about an hour and I wrote down how I was feeling about it. And it was complex, right? It was complex because it was like, man, come on, come up with your own ideas, person. You are smart enough to come up with your own ideas. Don't copy the stuff in our calls. So I then direct messaged the person after a couple hours of getting calm, getting rested, getting my body. And I said, I'd like to talk with you for just a few minutes. Do you have time this afternoon? Person said yes. Got on a Zoom call, and this was hard, ladies. I'm just telling you, this was hard because I didn't want to come off as like, you know, and I just thought, how am I going to handle this? And so I set the context. I appreciate you. And the topic of our call just a couple hours was this. And I noticed, so facts, I noticed that within 30 minutes of our call, there was an article published and it had unmistakable text and comments and examples from our call. I said, what's up with that? And she said, excuse me, the person said, well, I just took my AI and I just put it in and said, here's a conversation, put this in my voice. And it really didn't really do a great job of that. And the response was, I thought that was okay. I just thought it was okay because I just used AI to put it in my voice. And I said, I don't think that's okay. Do you think that's okay to take someone's ideas and be able to come? There was no attribution, ladies. Okay, and I don't want to make this too heavy, but if you haven't experienced this, you're going to experience this. The more we're out there, your ideas, your heart and soul, your examples, your sandpaper, right, is going to be out there in the world, and the person did not have any idea that, hey, this was not a good idea to do this, right? There was a breach in trust. That is what our whole topic is today. So I ended the call and on good terms, and I said, well, I believe that it was, and I need to do a better job of setting some boundaries about what is and what is not acceptable. So note to self, what is acceptable? What's your policies, right? What are your policies? One would think these are like obvious, but they're not, right? And so, and I said, I don't think we have an alignment in values. And I wish you well, the best of everything. And I'd like to not be in community with you anymore. And this is a person none of you know, was years ago. And so I unfriended, I essentially disinvited the person from ongoing events because I thought there's a breach in trust. I can't trust that this person will not take any of your ideas, your concepts, your voice, and turn it into their own point of view and their own content, right? The sacredness of sharing, the sacredness of this was lost. It was gone. Yeah. And you can see there's still a little energy there for me. There's still a little bit of, and I got to work on, there's still a little bit of grit in the sandpaper there. But, so the point is, once trust is broken like that, how do we ever get that back? Now, the person could have come back and said, I'm really sorry, I apologize, and everything. It was like, okay, got that. But what are your standards for the communities, the sacred communities that you're creating? What are your standards about when you, and we'll talk about this in a moment, is when you're on events, how are you? We're all learning and growing and getting new ideas. How are we properly attributing, giving attribution and giving recognition to others? That's the real key. We don't get into, there's no problem if you give attribution or do a shout out for someone and their idea. That's part of the key, right? Yeah, yeah. So I just want to pause. And again, had to do a clearing after that and had to really say, wow, bless this person. Even to this day, bless them. Just bless them. And Susan, I would come to you in a second. But my curious question is, the thing I want to get underneath this is, why did this person feel they couldn't, after the call, couldn't have just sat quietly with a cup of tea and say, you know what, that was a really awesome call. What's my take on this? What is my thought on this? What do I have to say to my community that does not copy anything that any of those wonderful women said in that call? You know, how can I create something that's mine forever, but it's not copying, right? It's not pirating, it's not stealing. Yeah. Person didn't do that. Bless them. Yeah. They took the easy way out. Yeah. Because it was a rush to get a newsletter out. Yeah. It was a rush to get a post out. Right. Yes. Susan, please jump in.
Even if she had said, this came because I'm involved with the wonderful Kathleen Caldwell, and she's the one who created this concept, and it spoke to me, and here was my takeaway. That would have made it a generous aha kind of sharing of why somebody might want to be in relationship with you and the group she was part of in a way that would elevate not only her as a giver and a receiver, but her as someone who recognized that it was somebody else's idea she was commenting on. I mean, I think any of us who, when we share something, whether it's a book we read that we're like, I've got this new thing I'm working with, and it's based on what I learned from somebody's presentation, somebody's book, somebody's process that I got to experience and learn from. As long as you are carrying that accreditation of how you came of that, how you are using it in support of something else, it then becomes that factor of trust. And it is also, I think, the time when you can say, I'm sorry. If it had been someone who said, I didn't even think about it, I was in a rush, I will never do it again, but gave you some sense that she understood the the breakdown she had created. I think there are a lot of times
Mhm.
unintentionally we may do something without recognizing that we crossed a line for someone. It was not an intended cross the line. And when you own the mistake as well as own the genius, that can give you a lot of what Dr. Lee and others called the authenticity of I'm human, I do make mistakes, and thank you for me being able to learn from that mistake.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Yes, thank you. And we're going to talk in a couple slides about what's actually happening. Deb, I want to come over to you too. Is there's a technical term of what's happening now in the world where with AI is having us think that everything we're doing, everything we're inputting are our original ideas. Okay, it's not geared toward helping us give us attribution. It's helping us empower our voice. Yeah. So yes, and it's not necessarily always about the content. It's what we want to do, sisters. We want to get underneath. We want to look at this behavior, right? Are we setting the right boundaries? Are we communicating? And we're going to have a follow-up session of what really is our AI statement. How are we using AI? We've got to have that. Yes, yes. Deb, would you like to jump in? You had your
Yeah,
hand raised. Yeah.
I to me it does come back to boundaries also because I think I would have been more harsh. And just giving somebody attribution is not okay if it was a private conversation or a private discussion. Like if somebody took our discussion here and said, "Oh my gosh, this was fabulous. Here's what we talked about." No, because what we're saying here, now granted it does get published and things like that, right?
Got
But
a replay. Yeah, right.
it is still and in many cases we might be working with clients or a group where no, that privacy is sacrosanct. And I, it kind of annoys me that we've reached the point where we have to say, "Hey folks, no." Mm-mm. And like when I record my podcast and stuff, I don't allow the guest's AI to record. I just don't let it in. And part of that is because Zoom doesn't always like it. But I don't want them making their own notes. And so yeah, it's our intellectual property and we need to protect it.
Thank you. Absolutely. And, with the advent of Otter and different things, I mean, people are recording in the background. And of course, I want to give you some ideas again on how we can, we're all taking notes, right? We're all learning from each other, and how do we then uh, be able to capture ideas, right? And then what could be a system? I'm going to give you 5 suggestions in just a moment on how we can actually take it and model, but then create anew, right? By respecting and honoring the original intent, right? And I'll just also say this has happened, this whole little situation with sandpaper and other examples. Oh, it's happened at least a half a dozen times. And it's going to happen with all of us, right? The more we're out there, the more we're creating. There are human beings that want to take the shortcut. There are human beings that don't understand that, hey, these are our original ideas, or these are ideas that are original to that human being, right? And the sanctity, and I think you mentioned, Deb, I love some of the words that you were using, the sacredness, the sanctity of people's humanity, right? All of your humanity. Everybody's so different. We are talking about that from the very beginning. So it's an interesting experience, and I wanted to share it with you because it's part of this whole theme here. Because this is so amazing. I did not know about this until I did the deep research to be able to learn about. And I will give my chit chat GPT credit and shout out here is I'd heard about this, but cryptomnesia, like amnesia, but this is a phenomenon that's happening around the world. Okay. And now that you know this, hello, we can we need to know about it, because I think also I wanted to know about this for myself, but also know about it that's happening with others. It's when something is a remembered idea, and it's happening with AI. It's an idea that feels original, specifically like we think about things that we've gone to. We've gone to events. If you're a public speaker, and I'm sure all of you are public speakers, right? When you're on events, your audience is absorbing all kinds of great original ideas and conversations. I mean, we're creating a new here, ladies. This conversation we're having has never been created before, with the specifics of you we're in this conversation, right? We have topics that are out there, but this is an original content right here. And what is happening is with cryptonesia, the source of the whole conversation is forgotten. The idea and the theme of what was talked about, but this memory feels like we in AI are creating it anew. It feels like it's our framework. It feels like it's our original content. And you'll notice that putting ideas into AI, and then all of a sudden we're kind of getting back like, hey, this is just like your something something framework. And what a brilliant idea. And just being unintentional about copying does not mean it's inconsequential. Because as I mentioned to you on these half dozen plus occasions, with sandpaper and other examples, I'm no longer in relationship with those people, and it makes me sad about that. It makes me sad about that. But it's like, wow, the trust has been broken. Okay, and this is important because, as you can see at the bottom, damaged relationships, lost credibility, and reputational risk. These are all at risk, and few people are talking about it. Okay, few people. So I think the way out here is attribution, right? How are we building trust with people? It's just a small little line at the bottom, or it's an attribution. Give people attribution. If you were brought up like I was brought up with, hey, you don't want to be too loud here. You don't want to be too bold here. You want to kind of, let others lead. We've got to be boldly out there claiming our ideas. We've got to be out there giving testimony for others' ideas, right? And giving credit does not reduce you. I came up, I was brought up with, hey, you don't want to necessarily, you want to be the one, with all the brilliant, great ideas. All right. You don't want to give others credit. Well, that does not work anymore, right? When you give others credit, it demonstrates, as you can see, your integrity, your power, your confidence, your intellectual curiosity. That, just as Susan was saying, you're like hooked into great communities. You have respect for relationships and you have confidence in your own contributions. And just because we take an idea and we reword it a little bit with our AI, that doesn't make it an original idea, sisters. It does not. And so I think for us taking the time now to process, like, what does all this mean for me? And in your high stakes communities and your high stake events, think about, how do you want to be quoted? How do you want to tell people how to use your frameworks, right? Give people some guidance, because this is like a typical thing that's happening now is responsible attribution. Hey, people are saying, hey, summarize an article, use the summary to create a post in my voice, right? The post, keep the post with the central idea, but make it mine, right? And with all of this, the source is never mentioned, right? Because the old style of thinking is that if you cite the source, that's a sign of weakness. It means you have no original ideas. No, cite that source and say, you know what, my take on it is this. This has inspired me to think about this. This is what I think about this. Bring up that original source, right? And I think before pausing, is this an inspirational kind of thing that I'm putting forward? Is it kryptonesia? Is it that I'm thinking that, hey, I'll put this in and I'll create my own original idea, not, or is it appropriation? Is a person taking this? So thinking before we do stuff like this, I have to slow down, right? And think about, okay, lots of great ideas. And how am I going to use the world's content appropriately and responsibility? Because this is like domino effect, right? There's so much out there. Who are people trusting? So here are 5 steps as we complete our time together. Now, this was an AI collab. So I just want to mention to you, this is a collab. This is not my original, but this is a collab here. But it makes a lot of sense to me, because thinking about, and feel free, you can take a screen capture of this, of course, right? Is before we publish anything, maybe just take a little pause, okay? And think about, like, what was the source of the idea? Okay, if it's just taking the time to just think about things and all of this, maybe we could backtrack and think, I was listening to a podcast and this conversation elicited this type of thing. Stop and pause. Give a shout out to the person where you think you got the original idea, right? Do a shout out, because guess what? They're going to appreciate you so much for that. And they could then repost and they could be like, hello, hello. You get more juice out of giving attribution, right? You get so much juice and goodwill. But stop and think, where did the idea originate? Okay. If it was your original idea, fantastic. Even put that in the article, put that in the newsletter. Think about the specificity of it. Is there any language or framework distinctive to someone else? Hey, are they talking about 90 grit sandpaper, right? Okay. Give a little shout out, give a reference, contribution. What, be able to then say, here's the original idea, came from this person, and appreciate their framework. And what was the thing that it caused for me? What was the transformation? What was the experience that I've added? Add yourself into all this, add the you into it. And obviously give attribution to this. And, standing in integrity, how would I comfortably explain? Or, when you go for a PhD, you have to defend the work, right? Defend the work. How would I defend this new body of work? Okay. How could I honestly, with all of this? So think about these 5 steps, because the key to all of this is be more human. Ladies and gentlemen, be more human, be more of you. Okay. Bring your heart, your soul, your mind, your gut into all of this. We're demonstrating right now. This is what people want, right? They don't want ones and zeros and digits. They want more of you and they want more of us. So give the people what they want, right? Give them the heart, give them the mind, give them the data, give them transformation, but give the people what they want. And the only way through is the only way out of this little maze we're in now is through. Okay. Be more human. And then finally, this was a divine download. I give the divine credit for this, the quadruple win with everything we're doing. How is it that I can win, you can win, we can win, and the world wins? All right. So just something to pause and think about is that everything that you're doing is an act of creation, right? And you've got so many fantastic ideas. You've got so much juice and gas in the tank, ladies. Let's use that, right? And I know we're preaching to the choir here, but this is a ripple effect for the world. Okay. So as we complete, oh my goodness, there's a lot here, ladies, right? A lot here. What's your biggest takeaway? We've got just a couple minutes before we conclude. Maybe a word or a sentence. Your biggest takeaway. Take a deep breath. That's mine.
I'm
It's
gonna
all good.
I want to jump in quickly because I'm gonna take off, but it brought back to me the something I've talked about before is having your own personal core values. And what, as a business or an organization, they all have core values, but what are your personal core values? And how do you live that through AI, through whatever you're doing? So it brought that back home to me. So thank you very much.
You. Thank you. Thank you, Sheila. Very good. And you do that. You do that. Great. Good. Thank you. Carol, thank you. You've got your hand up. Yeah. Takeaways. Good.
We can't hear
We
you,
do not.
Carol.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to get you. Got it. Yeah.
Check the source
Now
of your
you're muted.
microphone.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you're muted. Yeah. How about if we come back to you? Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah. Good. Good. Lee, Deb, Susan, what are your takeaways?
Well, I really appreciate the word cryptonesia. That's a great new word to add to my vocabulary.
Tunisia,
And
right?
I do
It's a
question a
thing.
lot of things. Yeah, where my ideas come from, and is it from a quote? Was it an inspiration, presentation, all those things. And then certainly I do cite, like, oh, I was inspired by this, or I learned this from, the book or a person. And then I do add my take. Yeah, that level of integrity is so important to me, because if it's something that I'm sharing, if I have something that I'm sharing, I know I want to be cited or quoted. I want that. So first and foremost, I'm going to put that respect out there into the world. So thank you for the cryptonesia word. That was a lot of fun, Kathleen.
Thank you. Thank you. And I want to get to the source of that. I'll get back to the source then. We'll talk about that in another session. Yeah. Great. Good, good, good. Carol, thank you.
Okay, I found out
Great.
my cleaners turned off my microphone yesterday.
Oh, oh,
So at any rate, now it's back on. And that was exactly what I was going to talk about was the word cryptonesia, because it's like, oh, this is a great new word to add to our vocabulary to talk about what can happen. And it was a great personal story, and I really appreciate you sharing it with us. It never occurred to me that that could happen.
thank you, Carol.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, very good. And we bless those beautiful cleaners, right? What a
Yeah.
wonderful, what a wonder, the lessons I learned from my like what a blessing that is. Very good. Thank you in so many ways. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good. Very good. Susan, take away. Deb, just take away. Great to be with all of you, by the way. Thank you. Yeah.
I think that cryptonesia probably hit us all because we're aware of it. The other part of it for me is the fact that critical thinking has been eliminated because of releasing to the AI that they can write us better than we can. And I have been slower than many to let them have my voice. And it feels on target as staying more to I'd rather write for me and be slow than write quickly and lose my identity.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. What a great point. Great points. Yes, good, good. Deb, take us home, dear. What are your
Think,
thoughts?
just think, and as everybody was saying, where did that come from? Because there's probably no totally original thoughts anymore, right? Hasn't
Completely,
been for a very long
completely.
time.
Yes.
And we're, it doesn't mean you have to try and search it out and find it, but you might also go, oh, and then delve into it more. But yeah, just think about it. And I mean, you can say, I don't know where I heard this, but
Yeah.
right. I mean,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
That's
so, and that's
okay.
okay. Again, we're not saying I'm an idiot or I'm taking credit. It's just, I've
Heard to me.
I've heard somebody else talk about it.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Great. Well, ladies, here we go. What a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous time together. Thank you for investing your time, your heart, your soul, your energy. We did create something new in this, and it's because of you, me, and us, and sending light and love out to the world. Good. We'll see you next Thursday. Lots of love. Thank you. Have an awesome day. Let's get creating. Bye. Bye for now. Thank you. Love to each of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.